think the NFL does enough for players after they leave the game?
Well, I mean, listen, it's the NFL has programs for you while you're playing and when you're done playing. Players have to take advantage of it. And let's be honest, I'm responsible for my health. Mm-hmm. You know, and I don't look at the National Football League and say, you know what, I'm done playing, make sure I'm eating right or make sure I'm doing what I should be doing. That's not their responsibility. That's my responsibility, my family's responsibility, my team's responsibility.
I have to turn to ESPN. The new president spoke out yesterday, made headlines, and says the network is not a political organization. Do you think over the past year, with correspondents and anchors taking a political stance, do you think that hurt the network?
Here's my thought on anything any of my coworkers did politically. I don't. My thought process is nobody cares what I have to say politically. They don't tune into my show to hear me talk politics. They tune in for me to talk sports. If one of my coworkers wants to do that, that's their right to do. If they feel that hurts their brand or ESPN overall, that's something they have to have a discussion with the new president of ESPN. I have always been one that says I'm hands off on that. Anybody who wants to talk politics can tune into a different station other than ESPN. So I am supportive of my colleagues. They're allowed to have their own opinions and express their opinions. Mine will never go down the road of politics. That's not where I feel my place is. And who cares what I think about politics, quite honestly? That's my thought.
As you know, it's getting more and more competitive to get the rights of live sporting events. Do you think ESPN's business model is solid?
Well, I think live sports is the way to go, personally. I mean, I think there are so many options out there for shows, for any kind of shows. But live broadcast is a live broadcast. This is when the show is on. This is when the game is on. It's on at this time. Unless you're going to tape it and try not to figure out what the score is and watch it later. Good luck with that with Twitter and everything, that it's a live event that people want to watch. So I think ESPN owning a lot of rights, I know it's expensive, but I think in today's world, having that and having ESPN be the place to go to watch live events, I think is a good way to go.
Yeah. What was your reaction to John Skipper's interview with The Hollywood Reporter, detailing his coke addiction?
Well, I mean, listen, that is something that I'm going to let John talked about it. John talked about his issues. You wish John the best if he has a problem and talked about a problem, that you want him to get help. It's no different than when I was playing ball and I would have a teammate. I had a very well-known teammate in Chris Carter who had issues with me issues with drugs when he was in Philadelphia. He went to Minnesota, he straightened himself out, and he's a Hall of Fame player. So I always wish the best for people who have any kind of issues that they're dealing with. And the same goes for John, the same goes for anybody who has these kind of issues. As far as what went on as him running the company, listen, that's A, that's not my territory, and B, I've been a locker room guy all my life. And anything that ever goes on in a locker room, to me, I keep in a locker room. But don't even spend a lot of time with John to know all the things that he dealt with. All I know is if you have a problem, I hope you can get help because you got a lot of life to live.
There's been a lot of changes over at ESPN, as you know, with a lot of big personalities losing their jobs. Is there any concern? I mean, you're a big face there. Do you have any fears that that'll happen to you?
Well, I mean, listen, everybody's job ends at some point, and every company goes through change, whether it's layoffs or they become bigger, they become smaller. At ESPN, it's just such a public company, and everybody's out there all the time, especially on TV and out in front of everybody, that I think it gets a lot more exposure than some other places or other companies that could do the same thing. Now, that being said, do I like seeing colleagues that are laid off? No, I don't like to see that, but I know people outside of ESPN who are at jobs where their companies lay people off or move their company out of town and all of a sudden they're out of a job. So it's not just an ESPN thing. This happens in a lot of different places. It doesn't make it easier when I have a colleague who all of a sudden doesn't have a job. And listen, I'm 55. I've been doing this, morning radio thing going on 20 years. I've had a great time there. If it were to end tomorrow, I would say I had a great time. If it ends 3 years from now, I'm going to look back fondly on my years.